Heaven sent.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back for another installment of Exploring Urban Legends in Gaming. With the Halloween season in full swing, I thought we could light a few candles, carve a nice pumpkin or two, and dive into 4 of gaming's creepiest urban tales. So whether you're a fan of the macabre or a supporter of all things... Wait, hold on a second. Hello?
7 days.
7 days? 7 days until what?
Your PlayStation 2's been on for 7 days straight.
Yeah, so? I'm trying to complete Contra Shattered Soldier and I have no memory card.
I know, and I turned it off for you.
No. No, you didn't. The Twisted Metal series is one that has been near and dear to my heart since a young child. So much so that I had even mentioned it on a school project I did back in kindergarten. I like to twist the bell? Yeah, I guess my English skills weren't all there just yet. But anyways, with so many twists and turns within the timeline of the Twisted Metal series, I had stumbled upon a certain rumor that really piqued my interest. In a previous video, I had covered the canceled title known as Twisted Metal Harbor City. This was meant to be Sony's take on an open world setting for the franchise, allowing players to freely roam between battlefields, connected by a series of back roads and highways. It was actually a really sweet concept, and after giving a scrap version of the game a test run for myself, I can confidently say it would have been one of the best Twisted Metal games ever. That is, if it were ever finished. Now it's a bit speculative as to why the game was actually cancelled. Some of the staff that took part in the game's development claimed it was only cancelled due to the unrealistic expectation that it could ever compete with other open world titles such as GTA. Others claimed the game was put on the back burner so the team could focus their efforts on a different game, leaving Harbor City to fade into obscurity. But with Twisted Metal Head On to release shortly after these claims, a disturbing message could be found in the game's extra features. In the extra twisted edition of Twisted Metal Head On, a new playable mode known as Twisted Metal Lost was included as a bonus. This new playable mode was loosely based on the scrap beta version of Harbor City, and included an eerie explanation as to why the game was eventually cancelled. Let's take a look, shall we? In 2003, work began on Twisted Metal Harbor City. The game was set to be a sequel to the award-winning, million-selling Twisted Metal Black. The levels in Harbor City were designed to connect via a series of freeways that would allow players to experience, for the first time, a seamless, streaming Twisted Metal world. Sadly, only a select few ever got to experience this new vision for the Twisted Metal series. On March 13, 2005, 6 key members of the Harbor City team were killed when their plane crashed following a celebratory skiing trip in Colorado. Because of this tragic event, the game was cancelled. On March 13, 2007, 2 years to the day of the plane crash, a note arrived at the offices of Sony Computer Entertainment. The note pleaded with Sony to allow the public to play the last works of the team members, to allow the public to enjoy the last game the teammates had ever created, and the note was signed with the names of the 6 deceased. After months of debating the origin of the note, the consensus was that it was a joke in poor taste. However, it was decided that elements of Harbor City would be released to the public in order to honor the fallen teammates. While the connective freeways have been removed and no stories were ever written for the characters, we hope you will enjoy the classic Twisted Metal gameplay that these levels represent. They stand as a testament to the talent and dedication of our beloved teammates. If you would like to see the actual notes sent to the Sony offices, complete all the levels in the Lost Story mode. If you would like to see the note in its entirety and unlock the secrets it contains, complete all the levels in Lost Story mode on hard difficulty. Now, there's a lot to take in here. Supposedly, the game was cancelled due to core members of the development team being killed in a plane crash. A mysterious note from the deceased of said crash shows up on the doorstep of Sony. If you're dedicated enough to see this note for yourself, all you gotta do is complete the game on both difficulties. Now that's one hell of a morbid Easter egg. So as it previously stated, there are 2 different endings pertaining to this mysterious letter. Let's start with the normal one first, shall we? It reads, "We are disappointed to hear of your decision to keep the world from seeing the last of our work. We beg of you, show them all that we have done. Show them our last earthly deeds. If you doubt our existence, look to the dark past for proof that we are who we say. For in this dark past, you will find proof that we know what the future will bring. And do not forget. Okay. Leaving us on a cliffhanger, are ye? Man, the nerve of these devs to be trolling from the grave. But I've got to admit, it's pretty spooky. I mean, can you imagine just mindlessly stumbling upon this while you're playing the game? I would be both horrified and incredibly invested. So as for the completion of hard mode, you unlock the rest of the letter. And as for what it even means is really up for interpretation. Take a look. Followed by the signatures of the supposed deceased, it reads, "The truth lies in the greenery of Paris. To the left, the truth is revealed. This is why we come back, to let you know what awaits." Come again? The truth lies in the greenery of Paris. The truth is to the left. What does it mean? David Jaffe, the man responsible in directing the Twisted Metal series, had done an interview prior to the extra Twisted Edition's release, in which he doubled down on these claims of a plane crash being the reasoning as to why Harbor City had never come to fruition, stating, "In terms of why it didn't come to fruition, we don't really talk all that much about it. There are two reasons the game never really shipped. One was a tragic reason, which was basically there were a number of people who were working on the team that were killed. They died in a plane crash in Utah on a ski trip, and it was just too difficult. The team was just like, we really just don't want to do this. We can't work on this right now." And Sony was obviously very understanding. Development had been going on for a while, but it was like, let's table this and kind of let it pass. Now, one thing that is very strange about that statement is that he said they were killed in Utah, when on the game, it says they were killed in Colorado. Now, Chad Liddell, a game programmer who had a hand in the 3D design of Twisted Metal Black, had later debunked these rumors in the short blog post. After talking about the amazing potential of Harbor City and what could have been, he ended his post stating, "David Jaffe once referred to a group of incognito developers who died in a plane crash. He may have stretched the truth just a little bit. We are all alive and kicking at Disney, and we are still making great games." But as for the imagination and execution of the whole thing, I gotta say it was a pretty interesting piece of business. Much like many of the urban legends found in 2000's gaming, you're usually working with a whole lot of hearsay that later snowballs into a fabled tale. So with these claims having been put into the actual game, it was definitely believable at first glance. But furthering our journey into the macabre and mysterious tales of gaming, how about we move on to another great example as to why you should never have children? Did I say that out loud? Anyways, let's prepare to dive back into the mystical world of Azeroth as we uncover the mysterious happenings at Crystal Lake. What I've always loved about World of Warcraft is the fact that its world is so incredibly immersive. It's the epitome of satisfaction for any role-playing fanatic because its world is just that easy to get lost in. But just like the many beautiful sights that can be found within its virtual confines, there also lies a few sinister tales. One that had caught my eye more recently is an urban legend that surrounds a small area outside of Goldshire, known as Crystal Lake. At this lake, it is said that there's a small house that is home to a group of children. At certain hours throughout the game, you can find these children wandering around the Elwyn Forest, usually stopping in a formation of sorts. They move erratically, and almost as if they're being controlled. But what's most concerning is once they return home. The home itself looks just like any other building you would find in game, but upon entering, you'll notice right away that something is off. An ominous, droning sound will begin to play, and voices have even been reported to be coming from the upstairs bedroom. And if you find yourself in the house at the very same time as the children, you'll find them in a formation of what looks to be a pentagram. I couldn't help but to find myself intrigued by these accounts, so I loaded up on holy water and decided to go see it for myself. And what we found may shock you. Okay, so good morning all. It is, 7:26 in the morning. Supposedly here in the Elwyn Forest, aka Goldshire, there's a small house, I believe in this direction, near a lake called Crystal Lake. Now, at this lake, there's said to be some children that live there, and there's something weird about them. Anyways, I got on at this time because supposedly they wander around the forest and kind of like make a formation together, something like that. They act weird. Anyways, I don't see them out here. I've been walking around. I've been looking for them. I don't see them anywhere. So I'm actually just going to head to Crystal Lake and take a look around there and see what's up with this house. Let's see if it's really haunted. Let's check it out. All right, so as you can see, I'm playing on a private server. I don't have a mount or anything, but I figured this would be the best way to find out if it was in the actual original game. So we're playing on an old update, and hopefully we find something. Nothing too creepy so far. Oh, hello there, little guy. Gonna catch you a fish, are you? Please.
What can I do for you? What can I do for you?
This guy's name is Jason. It's kind of weird, you know, Crystal Lake, Jason. Wonder if that's a reference to anything. And so here is the infamous Crystal Lake house. I mean, it looks just like any other house in the game. Looks cozy enough, right? Oh. You guys hear that? Okay, yeah, that's definitely creepy. I'm not a fan of this droning sound. Well, there's the children. Okay, so for a second, the droning sound went away, but as soon as I saw the kids, it came back. It looks like they're standing in that weird formation that I read about. Hello? I can't even talk to them. Okay, this one really worries me. Okay, so from what I've read, on top of these creepy sounds that we can definitely confirm are real, there's supposedly voices that can be heard up here. Now, I'm not sure if there's a certain time that triggers the voices or if it's real at all, but so far I just hear the creepy droning. I don't see much of anything else. Huh. I mean, this is definitely strange though. After going AFK and recording my character in the room for an hour, I decided to go back and see if I could hear any voices that may have been heard while I was away. This is what I found.
You are already dead. You will die.
Wow, that's pretty damn spooky. As for seeing the kids wander around the forest acting strange, I wasn't quite able to witness that for myself. But if there's one thing that's for sure, it's that this house is definitely haunted. This strange phenomenon is rumored to still work in Classic WoW to this day, so feel free to make a trip for yourself. You may even see more than I did. Just be sure to bring plenty of holy water, cause you're definitely gonna need it. There are plenty of strange quirks to be found in the 6th gen of gaming, but would you believe someone if they told you that their Xbox has been talking to them? I would probably think they were a bit off the rails myself, but it's actually much stranger than fiction. The Xbox original is by far one of the most iconic systems to date. Known for its aesthetic appeal and futuristic interface, the Xbox was everything the 6th gen of gaming stood for at that time. But for those who can remember leaving their system on idle for extended periods of time, may recall a strange phenomenon. A video posted by Incense Dragon on YouTube displays claims that their Xbox has been repeating disturbing messages, with the phrase "die human" allegedly being heard. When I first opened this video, I figured it would be just another jumbled mess of sound that was somehow interpreted to be a real message. But upon hearing the actual audio, a sudden chill was sent down my spine. Take a listen.
I left my Xbox on for a few minutes. I went to the toilet. and I heard noises. I came back, and my Xbox seems to be talking in like really distortedly. And at one point, I swear it said "Die Human." You know, there's no one around to be putting. There, "Die Human." It clearly said "Die Human" at the end. Yeah.
Whoa, now that's seriously creepy. But maybe that was just a coincidence, right? Well, actually, no. As it was later found that Microsoft had taken real space transmissions from NASA and distorted them in the menu to make the console seem more futuristic. Now let's be honest, what could be more futuristic than a homicidal piece of technology? But the Xbox wasn't the only one causing gamers to frightfully soil their undergarments in the wee hours of the night, as the PlayStation 1 was more than capable of similar scares. Sony's line of PlayStation consoles are chock full of interesting hardware, from the PlayStation 2's processor known as the Emotion Engine to the PS3's voice-changing capability. There's plenty of quirks surrounding these consoles to make them feel a bit mysterious, but as for the PS1, there was a startup error that was sure to frighten the unsuspecting. Known as the Fearful Harmony, this error would often occur on mod-chipped consoles and certain stock models of the PS1. When inserting foreign or burned disk, the system BIOS leaches on non-PlayStation data, reading it as machine code, causing the BIOS to be overwritten and the startup screen to hang, presenting audio and visual glitches. I'm sure many of you can recall that dreadful feeling of a prolonged startup. You insert the disk and all of a sudden, that anxious pause hits you. You think, oh shit, my game's not gonna work. But the Fearful Harmony startup is more like, oh shit, my PlayStation is haunted. Just take a listen for yourself.
A few moments later.
This needs to stop now!
Yeah, that sounds like something straight out of a Conjuring film. Just imagine being home alone, popping in a disc, only for the screen to distort and the sounds of hell to begin emitting from your PlayStation. I mean, I would certainly be needing a fresh pair of dungarees. But for our next segment, you're gonna want to trust me when I say keep an open mind. So without further ado, let's begin our investigation in the death of a hero. So there have certainly been a wild variety of urban myths to come out throughout the history of gaming. But for this next one, it could very well shift your perspective on a PlayStation classic. Final Fantasy VIII is a beloved title of the franchise for many great reasons. It's got some of the greatest CG cutscenes to be found in the PS1 era, a gripping story about love and war, and plenty of androgynous haircuts to go around. It's everything you could ask for in a Final Fantasy game, and with Squall being one of the series' most iconic protagonists, you'd think he would remain alive throughout the game's story, right? Well, that's where this next theory comes into play. The myth begins at the end of Disc 1. Squall and the evil sorceress known as Edie come face to face at the parade in Deling City. After becoming fed up with Squall and his efforts to defeat her, she conjures an ice pick and flings it through his upper chest. And after this, the first disc ends, prompting the player to insert disc 2, and after doing so, the story continues with Squall waking up in a jail cell with a jumbled memory and seemingly no injury. This begins the theory that Squall had actually succumbed to his wound, and is now having a moment akin to his life flashing before his eyes, with this process supposedly playing out in real time for us in the remainder of the game's story. Pretty strange. But hey, I wouldn't put it past Square to entertain such a concept, especially after learning of Tidus in Final Fantasy X. He's still real to me, damn it. Anyways, there had to be further proof for such a statement, right? There's actually quite a few particular moments in the game in which this theory seemed to have legs. Firstly, going back to Squall's awakening in Disc 2, his opening dialogue to this scene is as follows. I challenged Edie. My wound? No wound? How? This shows that Squall could in fact remember what had taken place before he was rendered unconscious, only to wake up confused and without harm. Was it all a dream, or was Squall and his spirit actually in a state of limbo at this time? Pretty odd. Another strange piece of evidence supporting this theory takes place during discussion about Cypher and his possible execution. Being an outsider to the conversation, Squall thinks to himself if others would speak the same of him after his death, realizing just how insignificant his life would become, fading in the past tense. He also states, "To think what you want, reality isn't so kind. Everything doesn't work out the way you want it to. As long as you don't get your hopes up, you can take anything. You feel less pain." This is perceived to be his way of saying there's little one can do in terms of their own fate, and given the fact that this conversation is taking place near the time of his alleged death, it feels a bit foreboding. What many claim to be the strongest and most disturbing piece of evidence supporting this theory are in the final moments of the game. Now I'm going to do my absolute best to cover this as spoiler-free as possible, given the fact that I'm still working on the game myself. So if you want a more in-depth look into this theory, I recommend checking out the video from Final Fantasy Union, as he covers it much better than I have. But the whole reason I was even led to cover this theory will soon be known. During the game's final battle with Ultimecia, she begins spouting some strange statements. Reflect on your childhood, your sensation, your words, your emotions. Time, it will not wait. No matter how hard you hold on, it escapes you. Now if I were to interpret these lines to the best of my ability, I would say she was talking about someone actively dying, further supporting the idea that the entire rest of the game after Squall was impaled was just his life flashing by. But it gets weirder. Soon after, a sequence of cutscenes begin, depicting Squall lost and alone in an isolated area. A feather floats into his sight, and while calling out for Rinoa, she turns to him, only to have her face distorted and blurred. Multiple scenes from earlier in the game begin to play out, all depicting Rinoa as a blurred image. This is often cited as Squall's state of being slowly slipping away, and as his mind is losing consciousness, his memories are beginning to fade as well. Squall recalls the moments that meant the most to him, such as the ballroom scene, but for some reason cannot recall the face of his true love. It's both eerie and heartbreaking, as it really feels as though you're witnessing your hero's final moments. But if he's supposedly fighting the one responsible for all this chaos, how could he be dead? Throughout this cutscene, we get other flashbacks to the moment in which Squall was supposedly killed, showing both Cypher and Rinoa's reaction to his impalement. Not long after, Rinoa is seen walking towards the camera. The closer she gets, the more she begins to fade, which at that point, we see the frame that is sure to keep you up at night. Were you able to catch it? Let's try to slow it down just a bit. I swear, that's gonna haunt me in my sleep. You guys remember those old jump scare videos from E-Bomb's World back in the day? Yeah, they could have definitely used this one for one of those. But shortly after we've seen these moments flash before us, Squall and Rinoa are consumed in light, which is the moment that many believe Squall finally dies. Now whether or not I believe these claims for myself, I think I'll have to finish the game before I come to that conclusion. But as I had previously stated, Square are well known for weaving their stories in very unorthodox ways, so I really wouldn't put it past them to structure this game's story in such a fashion. Either way, the game is iconic no matter how you choose to view it, and the concept of Squall possibly dying in the first act is something of intrigue for many. But as for this video, I think that just about covers some of the more creepy myths to be found in the world of gaming. Thank you all for watching, and please comment down below any other gaming related myths I should look into. I had a lot of fun making this one. I've got some really sweet projects lined up for the upcoming month, and the next one I am seriously stoked on. But until next time, take care, stay safe, and have a wonderful Halloween all. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.